Hello everyone, this is Schultzy and I am back, and I want to talk about Torchlight 2. A very extremely fun game made by the original people who made the original Diablo 1 and 2, I believe. And all I have to say, this is a worthy successor, a perfect spiritual sequel to the game. I have to say this is one of the few games of a dungeon crawler, loot crawler, that has a kind of dark aesthetic, but cute. But I like the cute cartooning that I actually like. I do not mind dark aesthetics, but I felt they have not been done right. And honestly, I think this is how you should do it. This cartoony, this simple art style. And this is gonna be a preview review, just my ramblings on it, and a little tips and tricks. Sorry that I took a while to get into it. And my biggest thing, I'm gonna talk about a massive tip and trick to really beef out your berserker and make your berserker pretty much unstoppable. It will take a little bit for him to, for her or him or whatever your character is going to do it. And honestly, I'm going back to the preview review, and I'll go on later on the tips and tricks on this. But honestly, I have found out that this game honestly is very good, a very good loot dropping game, and the aesthetics, the art style, very pleasing to the eye. Not a very hard taxing on the system on your computer. And honestly, this is what I was just playing around, messing around, thinking, okay, I looked at it, I tried out the demo, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try this. And I have to say, I have to see what it's like. And I'm playing it, and I'm having a hell of a time. Honestly, I'm putting it on casual because I wanted to get a lot of gameplay, instead of, because I have other characters on the harder difficulties, but I wanted to get an easy gameplay so it can kind of just give you a nice, decent, over-the-top actiony gameplay. Sorry that it's not this hardcore gameplay, because honestly I wanted to have just a quick little fun time, because honestly I've been finding tips and tricks and I wanted to see how it works as a whole. But going back to it, is that this art style, it's a very beautiful, very colorful, which I feel has been missing from video games for a while, that they haven't had this a unique and varied color palette, because you got the desert, the snow, I mean, you got all these the dungeons, even areas that might be dark and gritty and grimy have colors that pop, be it blues and greens and reds, and this art style that they chose, I feel, was the best one to do, because if you that they know that the best sometimes to capture your audience is by the art style. And some people may say, oh, it looks too cartoony, even though it's following from the first one, would set the precedence of how the art style should look. I'm liking how this is, and honestly, I'm just giving you a quick little look at the the skill tree. And the biggest one is, if you really want to go hardcore, you go to the first menu, and you go to that first one on the bottom left-hand corner, and every critical damage you do will be gaining you health, about 5% of your health each time, and to your maximum health. And you know what? If you add that with a dexterity bonus constantly pumping up, you'll be hitting it critical attacks multiple times, and you'll be constantly healing. So that pretty much, you can honestly unbalance the berserker, but it takes a little bit, but it's well worth it, and you can boost it through to stats. So, but I'm digressing. I'll continue talking on that later on. But the art style, very beautiful. Honestly, you do burst people into giblets and whatnot. But I mean that's how this game's gonna be. You're gonna click and you're gonna kill them. Click, you're gonna kill them. You're gonna click and you're gonna kill them. Very many people would say seem monotonous, but honestly, the art style, the story behind it is very good. The ambient weather effects in there are beautiful. They make the world seem alive, come to life. That doesn't seem like you're just walking around in this bland world. And honestly, the shopkeepers you talk to, yes, they may not really, you may not be able to hurt them, but they'll be doing things. Be it a blacksmith who is beating on his on a sword to sharpen it or set up the steel to make sure you can see it, make sure it's sharp and whatnot, what have you, and that's great. And even sometimes the simple, just them swaying, looking around, there's these little details in this game that really make this game stand out, because sometimes the little details of just simply, like this right now, the berserker is hunched over and kind of swaying left and right. It's a simple little look. Or the wolf in the back, tail's wagging, it's going to walk around, it's going to bark, it's going to howl a few times and make noises. These little effects add character to things that honestly really don't have, many games don't put that much work into, give them that much character. And honestly, as you can see, even though your major original looking of the character will disappear, you still have the ability to customize them. I mean, not as much as you would like. The customization feature is kind of slim, only faces, hair color, and I think that's just about it. Or in faces, hair color, and hairstyle. Very simple. I really wish there was more. I wish you could customize the color of your suit, your armor, and whatnot. But you know what? That's just one little, I mean, very little pet peeve. Honestly, it's not that bad. It's something that you can easily overlook. Because honestly, yeah, I know I'm taking a while. I know I put it into strength, but I didn't think I was just playing through just to play through. But honestly, the best build is dexterity and that first bonus. But going on, that the story is very good. The alchemist from the first game got a hold of, I'm blanking out on the major creature's heart, and he's turned evil, and you're trying to stop him. And you'll be going through all these lands to get to him and stop him. I'm not going to ruin the story. Some people may argue, oh, there's not much story, but you know what? I'm a person that, even though there's very little story in it, or just enough story to push it along, I don't want to ruin it for everyone, because sometimes just having it happen, just running across it, can set the tone and make you feel better instead of hearing how great the story is. The dialogue, occasionally you have text being read to you, but most of the time you'll have to read it, which is I kind of was spoiled by BioWare stuff that the stuff is read to you, but you know what? They do talk to you. It's not just mumbles and groans most of the time. They'll also remark and talk about things, and honestly, little things like that, and also the fact that you have all these power-ups, a simple loot type of game that you have to go through. Now, the biggest thing you'll need to focus on is the fact that you gotta think before you're doing. I know I have this on easy, so I'm able just to get you this random, just slaughtering gameplay. But honestly, what you have to do is just, you're gonna take each battle, you think before you engage. You just don't charge in. See a small group, make sure they're not just a small group. So what you do is, do you have a lot of people that are gonna swarm you? Do an area effect, which is the first skill that most characters have. They'll either have a swing, like the mage even has different abilities, because you can. This one has this weird has a weird animal motif for their attacks, which is very good. And honestly, with her, if you get overwhelmed, you hit the button for that claw attack, and it does this wide sweeping attack that can really do a ton, like there. It can do a ton of damage and knock a lot of people around you and do significant damage and hurt them and keep them kind of at bay, or just kind of brush up so you don't have to worry about them. Brush them away. And honestly, this is why I love Torchlight. It's this, what Diablo I feel should have been, the Diablo 3. And many people are going to say that, actually the biggest important thing about this versus Diablo 3, you do not have to be online the whole bloody time to play it. That was my biggest gripe with Diablo 3, is that if you give a product, it should not have to be mandatory online. Fear of whatchamacallit, of theft and piracy should not be keeping and punishing those who support these games. That is why that's the major one major thing that's in its favor, is that it does not punish people who are buying this game. You can play it offline, online, all your stats, and honestly, they may be saying to save you so you don't Blizzard may say it's to protect people who are trading the live auction house, but you know what? I don't care. But other than that, the game is really fun. It's really cool. Very beautiful art style. The story is it is a decent story for what it is. A nice RPG, done Diablo-esque game. And you know what? Even though this is made by the guys who were originally making the previous Diablo 1 and 2 and whatever, I have to say that this is it's just how it's designed. Very simple and ease of accessibility for everyone. And honestly, perfect for actually getting new players into this game style of a loot and hack and slash. And you know what? And here's the other thing: the perfect build to do for new players is the fact that focus on your passive abilities. Don't worry about any other skills, especially on easy. Don't worry about that. Focus on passive abilities, because these passive abilities are going to help you. Even on harder difficulties, these passive abilities are going to be what's going to be pushing you through and making sure you have an easier time. And honestly, especially with the berserker, there's several passive abilities that the biggest one is regaining health for every critical attack. That's the first one you should focus on. First passive ability you should focus on. And there's several others. Another one is cutting through the armor and stuff like that. But it's like, first focus on, for every critical attack you do, you get more health. That is the most important one you should focus on and think about. The reason why is the fact that you won't take that much damage on the easier difficulties until you really get to the super hard difficulties. But ignoring that fact is that when you do stuff like that, when you focus on this health, you can easily start pushing out the damage, and then later on, when you get your little wolf motif fully, when you do enough damage and charge it up enough, you can start doing massive critical damage, and you can just rip through these people. And that's the other thing I was going to say, is that the first one is definitely that healing bonus for every critical attack, and then you focus on increasing your critical attack, gaining charge, because when you do that, your character will not have to worry about their stats, their armor so much, because you'll be just regaining health almost every other hit. And you may say, oh, it's such a small one. The fact that if you're doing so much damage and just keep on hitting quickly, and the stats and it's the fact that these stats, it gives you the simple basics, upgrade these certain stats. Here and here's the other thing you need to know about this game. Basic kind of thing. Cash is irrelevant. You'll be gaining it hand over fist, especially in the easier ones, because you won't be and even not in the easier ones, you'll be gaining cash like hell. And the fact that I was just piling up and I didn't know what the hell to do with it. I just kept on just hoarding it away. And the biggest thing you should realize, that when you have cash, enchant your weapons. Enchanting your weapons is probably the best thing you can do when you have tons of cash, because it may give you a random effect or ability or what have you. As you can see, it's like these are just going through the stats. All these stats as a whole, you gotta level up before you can get to them all. But the first one's always focus on, for the berserker as a whole. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but it's focus on whatchamacallit, the critical attack and the strike over there. I can't read it on my screen right now, but hitting the critical strike, because in doing that you kind of gain the ability to really hammer on and hurt enemies. And when you can regain health so easily from it, when you regain health so easily from it with each critical attack, you really don't have to worry about so much of any other stats and thinking around these players and content. And honestly, as I said before, is focus on your dexterity and whatnot for doing critical damage and stuff like that. Because honestly, I've noticed this, that most of these games have dumbed it down. Now, I don't think this has dumbed it down. It may have modified the theory. Some people may say dumbed it down, but that's what super easy mode's for. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with playing super easy if you just want to enjoy it and have fun and feel like a badass. But that's the thing, is that it's the fact that you're killing these monsters and creatures, and you know what? This is a perfect thing to introduce to, be it your girlfriend, be it to a friend that's not interested in a gamer, new gamers, kids. And you know what? I've introduced it to a few girls that I know. I've introduced it to my cousins, nieces, and nephews. I've had a babysit. They love this game. As a whole, there is nothing that is horrible with it. It's aesthetically pleasing. I've had to deal with parents that are very fanatical, that if there's an iota of violence or anything aggressive, they go screaming like a berserker, like this character screaming, ranting and raving, this is horrible for my child. And the fact that this game, there's really nothing wrong with it. As a whole, it has actually a warm, appealing vibe to it. It's so colorful that there is no problem with it as a whole for getting it for anyone. And even better, it's $20, where you can't screw up on. It's $20 or 15. No, let me double check. No, it was actually 15. Sorry, it was $15. I mean, that is the other thing, is like, for $15, you can't go wrong for a game that gives you, oh man, I don't even know how many hours. I'm just playing through and I just lost count on how many hours it's gone through. But I mean, that's what I love about this game, is that Torchlight 2, sorry, it's $20. Yes, it was $20. But $20, better than Diablo. I mean, it's a fact that, I have to admit that I hope there's DLC or some way of extending this, because this game is really fun. You can play it over and over and over again, and with the multiplayer, you can actually have a larger audience. Honestly, I've introduced, and I was laughing, this is a perfect introductory game to new players. honestly, it's the fact that this is how the best way to implement co-op, especially in a gameplay with a little bit of story, a little bit of stuff like this, because it gives a little bit for everyone. Killjoy loves this game. Excuse me. And you know what? Give her a shout out. Say, we love Killjoy. Keep on coming. Keep on doing your thing, Killjoy. Please say that. Please do that for me. And honestly, she loves this game. She's docked, say 40 hours? I'm just trying to think, and it's like over several characters, and she keeps on jumping from these characters because she's like, "Ooh, this is so cool!" And like, then she sees me playing as the Ember Mage, and like, "Ooh, I want to try that." And then I'm like, "You know what? I want to try as the Engineer." And then it's just that it promotes so much play around, and that's the fact that that's what we love, is the fact that it doesn't punish you. You can even in your own classes start building even more depth and complexity. And honestly, I'm going to do more tips and tricks on all my games and continue my series, but it's the fact that she's been enjoying this and loving this just like this. And even there, if you saw right there, the skeleton was scratching its arms out, trying to reach out. It's like little things like that, little animations that are just these, that give this game more personality than any of these AAA, super big, $60 box titles. And I mean, honestly, it's just a loot game, but you know what? Each loot looks so different. It makes your character look so unique and special, not like, oh, it's just another generic hack and slash RPG or a generic. Because I mean, the art style and these loading screens are beautiful. They give flavor and feeling to the game. The music design, the sound design. When you hit a zombie, or these monsters, you hear this crunching, wet thump and squishing when you destroy them. You also hear this crackling of bones and chipping when you hear this. It's the sound design alone for just the actions of your character make a huge difference. They don't make it sound... It makes the characters sound like they have punch and just strength behind them. And also the music design, this nice melodious tone that kind of can go melancholy at times, but it's a gentle flow to it. There's not this overbearing intensity that makes you go ugh, but it lets things flow so nicely in this game. And that's what I love about this. Heck, even these creatures have a sense of humor to them. You got, as you can see here, you got skeletons just throwing their head at you. Their head. I mean, look at this. You also got, I mean, just even listening to this, the crunching, the thuds, and the fact that honestly the only knock I can give against this as a whole is the fact that when your health goes down, you really don't notice it. That's my only knock against it. It's hard for me to notice my health going down, and I think it just might be the placement that they're taking too much from their previous series. That the guys that were made Diablo 2 and Diablo, I never noticed my health. I always forgot about it. And honestly, some people, even your character will scream, my health is low, I need more mana. They will scream it. Now, I feel it needs to be a little louder and a little more distinct, but that's it. I mean, that's my only knock I can give about this game. It's super fun to play, a lot of customization. The pet I love about it, where it literally says, it lets you cut out the middleman of constantly going back and forth to the the town to get rid of your stuff, and it lets you bring back potions and teleporting scrolls and identifying scrolls. I love that. I felt that was perfect because it kind of makes it lets you still stay in the action, which this is what this game is about. Even if you take away all the story about it, and there's just enough story to push you along, just enough. And there's nothing wrong with a game not having a ton of story. I love games with story, but there's sometimes you just want this action. And then it's the fact that honestly this game is pretty good. It's really good with multiple players, and you can start min-maxing your characters, where I can have my character just tear through these enemies, and I can get support from a mage just that does pillars of fireballs down just to give me some space. And that's what I really love about it, is the fact that your character classes, you can build them whatever you want, and you don't need to rely on any other character. You can do it straight up by yourself, or you can do it with a team, a group of people. I believe it's up to 6. Honestly, I'll be playing this with Killjoy. She loves this game, and I'm loving this too. And it's the fact that you have all this customization, and you can choose how you look. And the biggest thing it took me a while to figure out is that you can click the tab so you can have your character's face showing and not have it obscured by a helmet or a hat or anything. And truth be told, that some of the hats and helmets are ugly as hell that don't seem to me personally fit it. But you know what? As a whole, that's little nitpicks, and honestly, I really sometimes I like the style of their armor when they start out for most of these characters. I felt that they looked a lot better than any of the loot you get, and it just takes a while for your loot to start looking really cool and unique. And they actually have armor sets that have, if you pair them up as in their entirety, they give you special stat bonuses. I know this is nothing new and unique and special, but that's something that's fun and cool about it. This game, I would say, it's great. Please pick it up. Remember, if you're using the Berserker, focus on dexterity, focus on that first tab and the first one on the bottom left to increase their regenning every critical hit they do, and the more and more stats you pump into that, your Berserker will be able to plow through there easily and gaining health every single time they get a kill. It will take a little bit, you'll have to go a little bit further in there to do that, and the other good thing about putting bonus into dexterity, it increases your dodge little bit by little bit, and that forces the enemy not to do so much more damage. I hope you've enjoyed pretty much my ramblings. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please pick this game up. Please like, favorite. Tell me what you think about my tips and tricks. Please tell me what you think about my kind of review and just gauding about such a great game. And I like to say say thank you, Killjoy. We love you, Killjoy. And I like to say everyone thank you and good night.